Well, we're here. It's episode 4. My name is Tim Pate. This is the Broke Amateur N6PUD podcast. I am a poor soul, a very poor amateur operator. And this is episode number 4. It is 1/13/2022. About 11:05 p.m. here in Southern California. And I just wanted to first and foremost say that I'm not a sponsored guy. I don't have any of the amateur radio manufacturers behind me. Nothing flashy here. I'm still learning how to do this podcast stuff like this. I've done a lot of podcasts in my life. I've also done some syndicated radio programs that were rebroadcast onto a couple of FM stations in Texas. Didn't play music. I talked, myself and another person. So I am familiar with how podcasts work. Now, when it comes to amateur radio, I'm only in this for about a year. And it's just me, nothing flashy. I don't have expensive microphones and this and that and this and that. What I do have is a love for amateur radio, and I'm excited to introduce anyone who is interested in getting their amateur radio license. I'm here to push you. I'm here to tell you that it is a lot of fun, guys. I've been in it for a little over a year, a little over a year. So that's just me, and I'm just telling you, and I'm explaining to you, and I'm encouraging you to go out there and get that amateur radio license, because it's a ton of fun. And everybody has their opinion on radios. Everybody has their opinions on, etiquette. And there's, it's like with anything, you have good and you have bad. And, there's a few more things that I was going to comment on, but I'll wait a little while before I get into all of that, because I go on tangents, so I lose my train of thought. But what I'm not going to lose my train of thought on is how exciting it is to grab that mic, talk to somebody on the other side of the world, or on a repeater, when you live in one area and that person is 100 miles away and you're talking to them on a repeater, or you're talking to them on Echolink, or you're talking to them on D-Star, C4FM, DMR. Did I say DMR? Yeah. Or one of the other exciting digital modes. And just how fun it is. So I'll talk a little bit about the digital FM modes that are out there and what people are using. I'm a daily user of several different digital modes, and I'll talk a little bit about them. I'm not going to give you the gist of exactly what the technology is. I'll give you a little insight on how they work, and I'll give you a little insight on some of the cool things that are offered that you can do as an amateur operator, and how you get into that. And, whether you're somebody who just took your license and finished studying and went and passed your technician license, and all the cool things that you can do, whether it be playing on DMR, whether it be playing on Yaesu System Fusion, whether it be D-Star. So I have them all up there on the top. Digital, DMR is fun. So, and there's also Echolink. Echolink, basically, Echolink It's basically a protocol. It's a voice over IP system that connects people um, to repeaters, and it's over the internet. So let's say you live in I don't know, you live in Alaska, okay, and or you're out on the road, you're driving down the interstate, and you can't connect through your radio because the repeater's 2-3 thousand miles down the freeway. So what you do is you get on your phone or whatever device you have connected to the internet, and it's a great little service. You download it, it's free, and you can talk to your friends provided their repeaters connected to it, and you're rocking and rolling. So I know a guy that owns a repeater here in Southern California, and he lives in Texas. When he connects to his own repeater, it's through Echolink, and he also monitors his repeater 24/7 through Echolink. So Echolink is a very, very cool. It's I guess you could call it digital. I don't know. But Echolink is a really cool way of getting on the radio when you don't have a radio. So that's another cool thing about this, as opposed to some of the other uh, two-way communications that are out there in the world that you can use. CB. So now that you have that license, where exactly can you talk? Now, if you are somebody who hasn't studied for your technician license yet, a lot of people will tell you everything above 50 megahertz, but when they do that, they leave out some of the important stuff that you may not know. Okay, so looking over here, I don't really want to push so much that you have privileges. You do have privileges on 15, 40, and 80. And you also have privileges on 10 meters. Now, I'm going to push more 10 meters as opposed to 15, 40, and 80, because that is HF as well. But you have privileges on 10 meters, 28.3 to 28.5. And that's pretty much right now in this time frame where you may get some propagation, which, the propagation is your signal is bounced up in the ionosphere and it shoots back down, and you can hear people all over the country and sometimes all over the world. So that is the propagation. So 28.3 to 28.5 is pretty much where most people, unless the solar cycle is at its max, that's pretty much where people are hanging out right now on 10 meters. So you do have privileges there, and let me explain this to you real quick. I've only had my license a year and a half. As I said at the beginning of the podcast, I'm not a seasoned amateur operator. I didn't have to take the code, and that's another thing that I need to push to you, is there is no code anymore. That is the Morse code, where you have to know so many words per minute to get your license. They got rid of that. I want to say it was in 2000. And so you don't need that anymore. You don't need to know code. But here's another thing that you might find interesting is more people are using CW, which is constant wave. They're using more now than ever in history of amateur radio. So yes, you do have privileges on 10 meters. You only have single sideband and CW, the original digital mode. You only have permission to do single sideband, phone, and CW on 10 meters. And if you decided to mess around on 15 meters, you can listen all you want. Now, you don't have the ability to key the microphone up with voice. So that is what they call phone. You do not have that privilege. You do have constant wave, CW, and CW only. And I don't, you know what? I don't know the wattage on that. When it comes to CW, it really doesn't matter because it is CW. So I want to say it's probably 200 watts. Now I don't know. Don't quote me, but I'm assuming right here 200 watts. That's it. So now on the FM portion of now let's take the HF, the little bitty HF privileges that you have. Your 200 watts PEP. That is the most you can run as a technician on 10 meters, not 250, not 400, 200. Now, when you take the HF privileges that you have out of that, now on the FM part, at 1500 watts. Now, most radios that you purchase that are dual band out of the box, a good dual band radio, which is 2 meters and 70 centimeters. Most of those radios out of the box are doing 50 watts. Some do 40 on UHF, which is 70 centimeters, and 50 on 2 meters. Now, when you get a good radio, like a Yaesu, an ICOM, a Kenwood, they're going to do 50 watts. I know this one, my ICOM 5100, it does 50 watts. It does a little over 50 watts. So does my Yaesu in my car. I have a Yaesu 7900R. It also does 50 watts. But some of the Chinese radios, they say up to, when they're really only doing about 35. I know my Anytone 588 UV, it does about 35 watts on UHF and about 40 watts on VHF, which is 2 meters. So let me explain this to you really quick before you go saying, well, I'm going to get me a new dual band radio and I'm going to buy me a 1,500 watt amp. Most amps are $1 a watt. They're very, very, very expensive. So really, when it comes down to it, do you really need to use 1,500 watts to hit a repeater that's 20 miles away from you? No, you really don't. And you really don't need to use 50 watts to hit that repeater when it's right above you or 2 towns over. You probably really only need to do about 5, maybe 10 watts. Because remember, repeaters are line of sight. Okay. Now you might want to do 1,500 watts if you can when you're talking simplex to your buddy that's, I don't know, living 30 miles away from you. But let me tell you this. I live in Lake Elsinore, and I've talked to Ontario simplex FM with 15 watts. No problem. And the reception is full scale. So that's, fully quieting my receive. That's not a repeater. That is simplex, person to person. So radio to radio. Now, there's DMR. There's Echolink. There's Yaesu Fusion and a few other ones. Let me see. Did I miss anything? Echolink, Fusion, D-Star, DMR. Now, each one of those, remember, you have to have an FCC license to use those. You gotta be a licensed amateur to use those. Now, D-Star is something that is, I don't want to say, maybe it is, I don't know. I've heard talks that they're going to branch off and allow other people to use their specific mode on other radio manufacturers' radios. I don't know. I know that Kenwood has NXDN. So these are all digital modes. So in order to use D-Star, when you purchase your radio and you want to use D-Star, you've got to register that radio. And then it's going to give you, once you upload your license, an official copy of your license to their database, you'll wait a day or two, maybe 3 days. I don't remember. It's been a while. It's been over a year since I did that. And I got an email back, welcome to D-Star. You can now use D-Star on your radio, and you're good to go. And basically, they want to know your license. They want to know you've got a license before they allow you to use that service. D-Star is a lot of fun. It's really, really nice, clear sound. I think out of all of the digital, FM digital modes are just, it sounds the best. DMR, to me,
DMR sounds like this.
D-Star sounds like this. YSF, kind of along the lines of that, but it's a little more crisp. Out of all of those, D-Star or DMR is kind of the newer one. At any rate, so if you're interested and you've got a friend of yours that has been playing around with DMR or any of these digital modes, DMR is a little different than all of them because DMR, you've got to go through a registration process like you do with all the digital modes. You got to go to this website called radioid.net and you register again with an official copy of your FCC license. You upload it. You usually hear back from them within, I don't know, I haven't done it in years. Well, I don't want to say years. I haven't done it in about a year. Didn't I just give you a brand new can the other day? So once you go onto that site and you register your new call sign, you're going to wait about an hour, about a day, maybe a day and a half. Now, I did mine a year ago, and I got mine back, I want to say in a day. So once that's in that database, you're going to get a unique digital ID number, and you have to remember, don't lose your password. Don't lose your digital ID number. And when you go to set up that digital DMR radio, once you have it set up, during that process of programming it and putting in all those fancy new code plugs, you've got to use that ID number. And here's one of the awesome things about these modes. The minute that you key your microphone up, the minute that I key the mic up, regardless of whether I've given my call sign out, okay? So here's my microphone. N6PUD monitoring. Talk group 91. I've unkeyed the mic. The minute that I key that microphone up, your digital ID number for your DMR tells the world who you are the minute you key that mic up. It's the same thing with D-Star. It's the same thing with YSF. And I'm pretty sure that it's the same thing with NXDN. Now, I don't know about P25. I think it's the same process with P25. But anyway, the reason that I stress this so much is that when you're on a repeater, you'll sometimes hear people key up. And there are people that don't have licenses that key up microphones. It is what it is. But on some repeaters, people will key up and they'll use profanity and they'll do bad things. That is an unfortunate thing. And I will not get into that conversation right now because I'm trying to encourage you to get your amateur license or you to get on the air. So the minute that you key this mic up, now this radio's not hooked up. Well, it's not turned on. The minute that you key that mic up, they know who you are. Now, when you're on a repeater and you're not using some digital thing and it's not this and it's not that, you're susceptible to that. But one of the nice, awesome, cool things about DMR, D-Star, Fusion, and Echolink is that you've got to register to use it. Once you key that sucker up, they know who you are. So you're not going to get the riffraff. Now, have I heard riffraff? Yes. I don't think that it was intentional. I think the person had it set up to VOX, voice activated service, and he accidentally said some profane words. And I'm pretty sure that when he figured out that he was keyed up, he felt really, really dumb, and he kind of ran away. So it doesn't leave just like that. So anyway, so that's one of the awesome things about these digital modes, FM digital modes, is that you don't really have the riffraff. And I'll stay away from the HF right now because that is a whole nother licensing process. Well, it's a lot more studying. So I don't want to touch basis on that, but maybe at some time we will. But I just really wanted to push this on you because there's so many more things that you can do. Echolink is awesome. It's cool. So let me give a little more insight to Echolink. So say you've been to, I'll use my state. I live in Southern California. There are some really awesome repeaters out here, guys. So there's a repeater. It's the Keller Peak Amateur Radio Association, I believe is what it's called. It's Keller Peak, 146385. And they do a net every night, Monday through Friday. And, if you've ever listened to ham radio, the repeater part, and they say, well, we're doing check-ins now on IRLP. IRLP is an internet radio linking protocol, and it's the same thing as Echolink. Echolink's just a cooler way to say it, I guess. I don't know. Now, remember, guys, I'm still learning. So you don't live there. You don't live in Southern California. So as long as those repeaters are on Echolink or IRLP, you can go and you can participate in that net on that repeater. Most of the repeaters out here in my area are all connected via Echolink. So you go to whatever, you got an Android, you've got an iPhone, you go to your area where you download your apps and you download Echolink, and you look, most of those websites that are connected to a repeater or an amateur radio group, and they have a repeater, it's going to say we're connected through Echolink. And you can also go to this really cool website called repeaterbook.com, and it'll tell you where repeaters are all over the world. North America. I'm not too sure about all over the world, but in the United States and its territories, it'll tell you. And if you want to know, if let's say you live in Brooklyn, New York, or you live in Albany, New York, it's going to tell you where it's at. And to be fully accessible on that website, you're going to need a call sign. So that's another thing. Go register for repeater book. Get yourself registered with Echolink. Get yourself registered with DMR. Even though you don't have a DMR radio, go register your call sign there. Make yourself a QRZ page. Go to QRZ and register with QRZ. They're going to ask you to prove you are who you say are with your official license. And usually within 24 to 48 hours, you're going to get a response back. And they're going to say, welcome. You'll also, the other cool thing is, too, is you're also going to get a really cool thing welcoming you into the world of amateur radio. And I got a sticker from QRZ, and I also got a really cool letter from the ARRL saying, hey, welcome, congrats, and join our association. It's $70 a year. And I got a cool sticker, ARRL.org, from them. And it, look, I have a few videos up on TikTok and a couple of the other social sites, but I'll show you this in a second. So, say you live in an area where you don't have repeaters, and that happens, and you're not ready to go and take your general. Now, let me show you this really cool thing that I have here. Now, remember I told you I don't have, thousands of dollars. I'm a broke amateur. Let's see. You see this thing here? I don't know why my camera's not working with me here. See this cool little thing here? This is called an MMDVM hotspot. All right, now let me try to get this camera back on here. Hold on a second. So, let's say that you live in an area where you don't have repeaters. Now, that's not unheard of. Say you live out in the middle of, I don't know, Idaho, Wyoming, the middle of the desert. There's no repeaters. But you've got a cell phone, or you have you have an internet connection, and you live in a place that doesn't allow you to put up an antenna. Okay, you've got Echolink. You've got a radio that does D-Star, or you've got a DMR radio. So that MMDVM hotspot, my friends, is your link to the world. And explaining a little bit about what a hotspot is. No, it's not. It's not, like your Wi-Fi. You're not going to connect to that hotspot and get internet access. You're going to connect to that hotspot. You're going to connect that hotspot to your internet, and that is a gateway to many digital services such as NXDN, DMR, D-Star, P25, and it's all connected through the internet. That is your gateway to the world of digital radio. It is awesome. So I have connected to my my MMDVM hotspot. I have my ICOM 5100, and I have my awesome TYT MD380. Pretty awesome. And the cool thing is you have a dashboard that you have set up. Let me show you. Hold on a second. Relax. So let me turn this off. Whoops. Nope, don't want to do that. Remember, guys, I'm still learning. Okay, now, if you look at your screen, I'm going to put my mouse over it. You have a thing that is called a Pi-Star digital voice configuration. Now, I'm showing you this in the little window that I have set up. This little thing right here. Now, I'm going to, for the purpose of demonstrating to you, I'm going to show you now if I had set everything up the way that I really wanted to. Now, the last person that keyed up on my network, over my network, was, let's see, this person's call sign is G3ZHI. This person, his name is Ian. He is in Mattleby, United Kingdom. Isn't that cool? So it shows you their call sign. And when you have your QRZ page set up, you can use that and it'll show you who they are by taking you to QRZ, and it'll show you who they are. Now, this works with DMR, works with YSF, works with P25, and D-Star. Did I say D-Star? Anyway, now, one of the other awesome, really awesome things about having your amateur license, unlike with other services, there's also, I'll give you a little demo of this, just to show you how awesome this is. Now, let me show you this. Okay? I am using a service that I downloaded off of, I'm using a Android device for this because it only works on Android. Let's wait till it loads up. I'm using this little application called Droid Star. You have access to DMR, P25, YSF. Now you can listen to D-Star, but you can't key up on D-Star. Now, DMR, obviously, Digital Mobile Radio Service, one of the busiest talk groups on DMR is this one right here. Talk Group 91. Okay? Now I'm going to connect to it. I don't hear anybody talking. Nobody's talking. November 6th, Papa Uniform Delta monitoring. Okay, so I just gave my call. And I'm not hearing anybody on there. I should have connected it to my Bluetooth so that you could hear it, but that is ironic. Nobody is talking on here. Hold on. Well, let's check this out. All right. November 6th, Papa Uniform Delta. Nobody's talking here either. Okay, so let's disconnect. We'll go to YSF. Echolink. There's got to be somebody talking on here. Yep, there is. There we go. Okay, so that's just a little demo. Little demo of YSF, Yaesu Fusion. There's a little demo of Yaesu Fusion on Droid Star, an app that you can download completely free. A lot of these apps are done donation based. So I think I pretty much covered everything that I wanted to cover in this video. Really quick, also wanted to mention to you, if you're studying for your technician license, there's an awesome way you could take your license now. Now, I don't know how things are right now as far as the COVID-19 restrictions go, but March of 2020 was the first ever amateur license that was taken via Zoom over the internet in a virtual classroom setting, if you will. Virtual classroom setting. Awesome, right? So let me give you a little bit and then I'll shut up and I'll end this little podcast that I did today. So I am not a group person. I don't like being singled out in a big group. I don't mind sitting behind a camera and talking like I'm doing right now. So as of March, I don't remember what the exact date was. I think March 20th or something like that. 2020. So don't quote me. I'm still learning. March of 2020, the FCC approved the ability for people to take their amateur licenses over the internet. Okay. So again, I don't know how things are going with the examining, the VE, which is a somebody who takes a test to administer amateur radio tests. They're volunteer examiners, and those tests are given by the VEC, the Volunteer Examiner Coordinator, and they will give you a test and to be a VE, a volunteer examiner. So those are the people that are going to give you your license. It's done by a group of VEs. Some of them might be generals and some might be extras, because a technician can't administer a test for another technician, only the person above that. So in order for a general to be tested, he has to be tested by an extra. So how it works is you're going to go and take your test. So when you go to take your test, you're going to have 3 VEs. They're going to test you. And you can go into a big room with a bunch of other people, or you can virtually take your test. Okay? And you can now do that test over the internet. And it's a very simple process. Now, I don't know when. Now, some of them can charge you right now. I don't know when the price is going to go up on the test. But as of right now, most of those volunteer examiners that are doing the virtual examinations, I think they're charging 10. I paid $10 for my general exam, and I think I paid 15 for my technician. So I forgot to mention this, I am a licensed general. And then there's one person above me called an extra. Now the extras get a little more privileges in on HF. So, but anyways, so how it works out is you have your webcam. That thing that is right there. And it all works out through an application where you actually take the test. You join a session, and you'll talk to a couple of people, and then they'll go into detail about what's going to happen. And then after that is done, that part of it, because there's 3 parts. After the third part, or after the second part, you go into another room, and they tell you, well, hello, my name is da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm November 6 Papa Uniform Delta. I am the volunteer examiner, blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And then, are you ready? Yes, sir. Okay, good luck. 7-3 or whatever. We'll see you after. You're going to come back to this room. You go to the next room. They're going to explain to you how everything works. You can't use headphones when you take your exam. I found out the hard way. You can't do it. You can't do it. They're going to ask you to do a 360 view around the room. They're going to want to look down at your desk. They're going to ask you to go down at the bottom. They want to see your feet. They want to see under your desk. All the crap you have up here can't be turned on. Nobody can walk in or out of the room. And it has to be quiet. And your technician exam has 35 questions. A passing score is 74. You gotta get at least a 74 to pass. And I'll be honest with you, it's a little nerve-wracking. Now, the other thing, did I cover everything about that? Yeah. If you're one of those people that just wants to take your technician class, your test, and you just want to pass, okay, fine. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. What I will say is I've been told a million times by thousands of hams in the year and a month or so that I've been an amateur, it is a license to learn. It is an exciting and fun hobby. You're going to meet people that you like. You're going to meet people you don't like. Now, they're all going to tell you the same thing. You passed. Did you study, or did you just remember? And there's only 3 licenses you can get: the technician, the general, and the extra. The extra is a lot to learn. I'm studying a little bit on and off for that extra. I really don't know if I'm ever going to take it. I have the privileges that I really want. Don't really need any more. I can talk anywhere I want where my license allows me. There's areas that general are that advanced. That is another license that is out there. There's also a novice, but you can no longer take the advanced or the novices. I'm going to remind you of that. Advanced have a little more privileges than the general, and the extra have more privileges than the extra, they have more privileges than the advanced and the general, and obviously the technician. So, don't just learn. Actually, let me rephrase that. Don't just study and remember. Learn. All that stuff is going to add up once you've passed your license exam. Once you get that passing score, and they're like, well, you passed. Welcome to amateur radio. Okay. Learn it. Study and learn. It will pay off in the end. I've got a house full of wires. Full of wires. I'm gonna give you guys a little demo here, a little while down the road. I'm gonna show you some of the awesome things that I can do with just what little bit I do have, because I don't have radios that are $10,000. I don't have a big ham shack. I have my living room where all my crap is at. It is an exciting world. Amateur radio is fun. It's a lot of fun. When you walk into a room and you've got your new hat showing your awesome new call sign, you dig it. You're gonna love it. So, and people that are hams, they're gonna know you're a ham because you've got that hat on that has your call sign across it, or your shirt, or something saying, "Hey, I got my amateur license." It's fun. It's a lot of fun. So the biggest deal is, don't be afraid to key that microphone. The first conversation I ever had on amateur radio was on the WIN system. That is a network of connected repeaters, and they're all over the country. I had a conversation with a guy in Everett, Washington. I don't remember what his call sign was. And he looked me up and he says, "Oh, you're new. Your call sign isn't in the database yet." Well, yes, it is. It is in the database. You're just looking at me on QRZ. Got to look on the FCC database. And blah, 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 blah. We had a conversation for about 20 minutes on my way to work. That was the first contact I ever made on an amateur radio repeater. And it was a blast. So the other thing is, before we end this podcast, I also wanted to remind you that when you take your technician license and you pass, you can't talk right away. You got to wait for your call sign to hit the database. So if you took the test on Monday, you'll probably be able to talk on Tuesday, so on and so on and so on. When you get on to Friday, you may not have your license in the database until Monday. So can't talk right away. Even if you take your technician and your general and your extra, you still can't talk till the previous day. Or if it's not a business day, you're not going to be able to talk until Monday. So that's the other thing to remember. So any questions or comments? I'm still learning, guys. So I know all of you guys that are seasoned amateur operators are going to say, "Oh, you screwed up on that one. This isn't right." I can take constructive criticism. I'm a grown man. I'm also a fellow ham, and I'm learning, and I'm trying to teach those of you, and not educate, because I'm still learning too. But I want to tell you that the amateur radio is a lot of fun. You're going to have a lot of fun. All the different things that you'll be able to do, even just with FM, you're going to have a blast. 10 meters is a blast. From 28.3 to 28.5 is a lot of fun. And, let's just say that you decided you're going to get your technician and your general at the same time, and your extra. The cool thing is if you bought that awesome HF radio, and just knowing that you're going to pass, you can listen to it. You just can't talk until you get that license in the database. But once you do, man, you are going to have a blast. And, hook up with your Elmer. Don't be afraid to key that mic up. Go get yourself registered on radioid.net. If you've got a D-Star radio, an ICOM that does D-Star, fire that sucker up, register it, and then get your D-Star ID. Bada bing, bada boom. Go to Echolink, do your Echolink. Hey, man, questions and comments below. I'm still learning. Look, man, I love ham radio. Just the year that I've been into it, I have really ran into some really awesome people, and a lot of people out there willing to help you out and explain to you, it's not 73s, it's 7.3. So I'm your friend. Thank you for joining me, the Broke Amateur here. That's me, N6PUD, and hey, 7.3 from me. And if you haven't taken the test yet, good luck. And real quick, before I go anywhere, I just wanted to mention that the music that you're hearing on this podcast is from purple-planet.com, purple-planet.com, and we're also on that awesome website called anchor.fm. Make a free podcast. Everything you need right there at the tips of your fingers. These people don't pay me to say this. I'm just doing this because they're giving me the ability to do a audio version of this podcast. And let's see, what else was I going to say? I think I covered everything. Yeah, I think I did. So comments, feel free to leave your comments. I'm also going to upload this video to YouTube and probably on Twitch as well. We'll get on there and do another live here. I might do it tonight. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, thank you guys. And if you're in the process of getting that license, that's what I was going to do. If you're in the process of getting that license, hamstudyonline.com, hamexam.org, qrz.com. They also will let you study. But the other ones, you could study right from there and register to take your test right there on that website. And I did my test online through GLARG. That's the Greater Los Angeles Amateur Radio something or another. GLARG. Greater Los Angeles Amateur Radio Association something or another. GLARG. Just look up GLARG, GLARG.org, and you can register right there. And let's say give yourself, the technician, give yourself 2 weeks. Everybody's a little different. I can't speak for everybody, but the technician class license is not that hard to get. Study, learn your wavelengths, learn your principles of electricity, and you'll pass it. You'll pass it with the 74. And Bob's your uncle. So that's all. That's all I got to say about that. So anyway, any questions or comments, please leave them. I respond to them. I love it, and I'm having a blast in amateur radio. You too can. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend. And bada bing, bada boom, and Bob's your uncle. 7-3, N6PUD, clear.